Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am going to be talking about note taking. Note taking, not necessarily really specifics on apps, how to, how not to, or anything like that. But there's a few things. Hello, Gail. Good to see you. There's a few things that glad you're feeling better after your earache. Yeah. I may explain that in a minute, but the stream today. So note taking in general. So Tiago Forte's been doing his. Well, what cohort is it? Like 13, 14, building a second brain, knowledge management. And note-taking in general has got me thinking. I was speaking with Bass, Tools on Tech as well, in a conversation, what was it? I think it was last week. And note-taking, note-making, note-creating, knowledge management, journaling, all of the aspects that encompass note-taking. I've started questioning sort of like why I'm doing it. What's the point of doing it? What apps to use and that sort of thing, because flashcards, spaced repetition, lots of people love talking about it, but you're like, why? And is it actually helpful? And that's one of the other things. So I've got a video coming out next week on the main channel. Hello, Kim. Good to see you. I got a video coming out next week on the main channel about note taking and potentially it being unhealthy, because as a student, right? As a student, when I was studying note taking, there was a reason for my note taking. Admittedly, it was to get a good grade. I mean, that's what most note taking is for, and that's all the note taking I really took was. It was, I need to remember this article, this reference, whatever it happened to be in the lecture. I needed to remember it, or it was note taking for where I had to be, a calendar event, a reminder, a meeting, something like that. So there was a purpose. There was a deliberate purpose to the note taking. But once I'd actually taken those notes and used those notes, I never really used them again. And looking back in school, when you take notes at school, you get your workbook at school. Well, I did anyway. I got my workbook and I wrote down my math, my English, my history, whatever it was. I haven't looked at them since. When you actually look at the knowledge that you've been getting through school, through formal education, I haven't looked at any of those books. I have no idea what any of that is about. But I was still learning, and I was expected to remember all of that stuff for the essays, for the assignments, for the tests at the end of the year. When we move out of formal education, we move out of schooling, we're now adults. I'm an adult. But we're now adults. We take our own notes. And I think the majority of people, like the majority, I'm going to say normal, but everyone is abnormal in their own ways. The general population, the consensus, the middle of the bell curve type people, they take notes on really simple, mundane things like, I need to remember to do this. I need to remember to do that. I can't forget this information. So medical information is kept. I would say that's storing notes, storing information for medical information, billing information, sort of like the adult stuff, right? Then you've got the events, where you need to be, where you need to go, what you need to do, all of that sort of stuff. Again, important stuff. And then there are those notes that you go, okay, I want to have a look at this. So they may be the podcasts, the articles, the videos, whatever. I want to listen to this. I want to watch this. Some of it's for entertainment purposes. So I want to read this book because it's a fiction, non-fiction book, and it's going to be fun to read. How do you enjoy reading? Anyway, because it's fun to read. Or you want to watch a video or a movie or a Netflix series or whatever. And you're noting it down for entertainment in the future. There is a somewhat purpose to it. But the note-taking, where you're taking a note to explore an idea, the, I guess, philosophical note-taking, that is the sort of note-taking, the personal knowledge management, that I think brings up so many of the questions. Because when you're taking notes without a deliberate purpose, what is the point? Why are you doing it? Why are you taking those notes? And I have gone through lots of different iterations of this when it comes to personal knowledge management of notes I want to explore, philosophical notes. I've gone through, okay, I'll take them in one place and I'll just keep them there. The catch-all inbox, this is everything. Then there is okay, I want to try and process all of these notes and go, okay, this is a note, I'm going to process it, I'm going to do everything I can with it. But doing that with every single note is almost impossible, especially when you capture lots of things. And then there is this balance in between. But if you're not doing anything with it, why are you actually taking the notes? And that was a question that was going on in my head. Right now, I mainly take notes on fiction books because I often read series and I want to remember what happened in the last book. For nonfiction, I usually take notes because the process helps me remember, digest. So that's interesting. So when it comes to remembering the information, why do you want to remember it? This is just a question I asked myself. I was doing the same thing. I was writing notes on literally everything, and I was like, why do I even want to remember this? Like, why why am I learning this stuff? Why do I want to learn this stuff? Most of the time when you're learning something, you enjoy the process of learning, which is good. I enjoy the process of learning, but there is a reason. There is a reason for it, other than just, yeah, let's do this. Otherwise, I feel like we can sort of fall into a sense of hiding in our learning. And so Seth Godin brought this up with email, hiding in email. When I spoke with Mike Vardy, same sort of thing. I spoke with Carl as well about hiding in your to-do list, hiding in your projects. And I feel like learning, a lot of us can almost, I don't know whether we're all guilty of this, but I think some of us can be guilty in hiding in our learning. Sometimes. Other than that, I sometimes take notes on interesting ideas, things I want to remember, but that's very rarely. Yeah, so the idea of remembering something to me is remembering the learning, remembering an experience, a story, whatever that happens to be. But why do I want to remember it? That's the question I came up with my notes. Why do I want to remember these notes? Is it just I'm going to archive the note? I'm just going to leave it somewhere and then maybe one day use it again? Because what I found is a lot of the times when I was, I'm not going to say reading books because I don't read books. A lot of the times when I was watching videos or listening to podcasts or doing anything and I was taking notes on those things, I preferred to go back to the video or go back to the podcast and rewatch the video, re-listen to the segment of the podcast, or just rewatch it all the way through if I did actually want to go back to it, unless there was a specific piece of information there. But if there was a specific piece of information there, then it's just that one note that I was going to take action on, which is what I was doing anyway. It wasn't the idea, the whole idea that I'd grabbed it, I'd sort of processed it, and then I'd tried to combine different things together. But I spent more time trying to put the notes together than actually thinking about the notes themselves. So, and this is where I was going with the take notes, make notes, and create notes. I can't remember her name. She did a video on it. She's quite active on Twitter. She did a video. I'm going to have to find the video now. But she did a video about taking and making notes. Taking notes is very easy. It's part of the capture process. You capture your note. You capture the idea you want to explore, whatever that happens to be, which is you take the note. But it's very surface level. You don't really do much with it. And then you make the note. So you reword it in different forms using maybe the Feynman's technique or something like that. You reword it in terms that you would understand when you re-look at it again, or words that you can then backlink. Maybe if you use backlinks. I've tried using backlinks, but not so much. When I read non-fictional, I usually have a reason for why I'm reading it, therefore I want to remember. Reasons can vary depending on the topic. Interesting. Example, reading a book on baby they're wearing. Okay, that's fair. Yes. So you're reading for information gain, which makes sense. That's and I would say that note-taking sort of is in the action focus. I'm going to take notes on an action I want to take or something I want to learn about to make action in future. There is an obvious purpose to that. I like it. I like that, and I do that a lot. It's the philosophical note-taking that I'm struggling with in my own mind right now, where you see an idea, you see a thing, you see a relation. Take Better Ideas. What's it? Joey from Better Ideas. His most recent video was talking about gamification of your life, whatever that happens to be, goals, aspirations, targets. Note-taking about creating those links is very much philosophical ideas. You could look at this, you could look at that. Finding those links are great. They're really fun to explore. But there's not really many actions you can do on them or take from them. It's one of those interesting things about, I think, the productivity space. When I watch a lot of those videos and I consume a lot of the content, the notes I'm taking are idea notes. They're things I need to fully explore. I need to relate them with different things, create different ideas from them, or expand and explore different ideas from them. There's not really this is what you're going to do. This is the point of taking this note. and finding that deliberate action from the note-taking or the philosophical note-taking it's interesting. So with the knowledge management, if you're not going to do anything with the knowledge, why are you taking it? I'm going to follow on to that one because there's something else that's coming to my head. I've been taking more notes because I am now responsible for my siblings and my house. Okay, I'm worried about being able to handle a problem because I don't know a process or fact. Interesting. When you say process or fact, most of the things that I think I struggle with anyway. When I struggle with anything generally, I Google it, and obviously all of us can Google stuff. So it's like, what do I actually need in my knowledge management that I can't access on Google that is going to help with that information? Kim, it looks like you responded to that one. What was that exactly? Taking notes because you might need the information you read in the future or even in the present. So it sounds like, and this is the, well, what is it? The wow, I've forgotten. See, I don't know this well enough. I don't know this well enough because I've forgotten. The just in case. There we go. The just in case idea where you're taking something just in case you'll use it later on. And I found myself capturing stuff, but I was arguing with myself, am I capturing too much or am I not capturing enough? Because I don't know what I might need. So do I need to capture everything in case I need it? And how do I know I'm going to need it? Well, I don't know if I'm going to need it. And these questions were going, every time I see something, like, do I capture that? How do I capture that? Do I need to process this as well? Do I need to add flashcards to this as well so I don't forget it? Because forgetting something means you haven't learned it well enough. And if you haven't learned something well enough, then the idea of capturing it was to learn it. But if you're, yeah, and then, well, if it's going to learn it, then you need to put flashcards or spaced repetition or some sort of recall in some way so you can remember it, so you don't forget it otherwise. Or you have a system where you search for it. But if you're searching for it, can't you search for it on Google anyway? Lizzie, hello, good to see you. A little bit of a philosophical discussion about idea notes. I'm interested to sort of explore the idea of what some note taking is. I used to take philosophical notes, but I realized I never went back to them. Exactly my point. So I stopped basically what you're just saying. What's the point? Exactly. And I have stopped taking those notes. I stopped taking those notes a while ago. But there's this bugging sense in me that I might be missing out on something. FOMO, fear of missing out. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe not. And the philosophical note taking is what I see a lot of I don't know what writers, I guess you'd say, talking about. When I read blogs, I read articles, I watch like Seth Godin, Simon Sinek, Tiago talks about it. What's his name? The blonde guy that does the medley. Nat Eliason, all of their sort of like their newsletters, their blogs, the things like that, they're very philosophical and they're very much linking ideas together with no real direction, no real purpose to it. And I'm going to relate this back to a squirrel session I had the other day. I'm going to talk about journaling actually in a second. But I had a squirrel session and I watched Lucy. For those that haven't watched Lucy, long story short, girl used a drug mule, drug bursts, she gets superpowers and like really explores brain and stuff. But the idea that was put right at the beginning of this film, was about knowledge transfer. So you have one cell, transfer the knowledge to 2 cells, and then 3, and then it grows into this organism, into a human, and then that's how evolution develops. And the idea of transferring knowledge over, right? Well, you need to have the knowledge to be able to transfer it, but you can't transfer all of your knowledge because some knowledge is experience, which is why obviously Google, Wikipedia, and the rest of it exists. But the idea that philosophical notes could be transferred over. Are they notes? Are they knowledge? Are they ideas? Are they experiences? If they're experiences, then how do you note down an experience? How do you note down a story? That's why people tell stories. That's why tonality and speech and hand gestures and words are massive with communication. So how do you communicate philosophical thought, philosophical ideas without all the other expression that you can have? It's really interesting. Well, it is to me anyway, in my mind. I think there is a phase of life factor. Being a parent, homeowner, etc., is a multifaceted job that will be different for each person. So being in the person urges you. Very true. Really good point as well. I think when you have extra responsibilities, there are other actionable notes needed to be taken. And I mean, even when looking back at Matt D'Avella, when you look at Matt D'Avella's like note-taking system. It's on Apple Notes, and it's not really a note-taking system, a personal knowledge management system. It's quite literally okay, these are the ideas that I have for videos, and these are the scripts. These are the documents I have for like business stuff. There is very, very, very little what I'm terming as philosophical idea exploration note-taking. to try and summarize it into one sort of sentence words. There is none really of it. So does he not think about that stuff? No. Like, he struggled with anxiety and other issues, as he's mentioned in videos, and he pushes through things. That's what the slow growth is all about. So he obviously thinks about this stuff, but he doesn't seem to note take it. So if he's not note taking it, is he forgetting it? Is he constantly going over it in his head? And if he is, that's obviously the spaced repetition. That's what I was doing when I was at uni, because notes I struggled. Wow, excuse me. So the lack of the note taking in the ideas allows for just like expansion of thought, and I reckon that's where a lot of the neurodivergence, maybe neurodivergent individuals work. I don't know. I mean, Hank Green has even said it. Hank Green, for those that are unaware, is the crash course guy, the biology crash course guy, and he's even spoken about the fact that in his mind, it just goes all over the place, and he learns different things, tells himself different stories, and what was it? The professional noticer, I think Seth Godin calls it, the professional noticer, and Hank is amazing at it. He notices the weirdest of things, and a lot of us do, but they don't note it down. They don't talk about it. Like, Hank spends most of his time writing books or doing TikToks on different thoughts, random thoughts. He doesn't personally, he doesn't have a personal knowledge management system. But he's still extremely successful, does all that he needs to do, and has the notes that he needs to get things done and move things forwards. So if successful people are like that, why are we taking notes? Maybe it is all of that hiding in the learning. Maybe. I don't know. In regards to being responsible for family to try and wear big strokes. Yes. Yeah, really good point there, Kim. Really good point. What sneaks up on you? Did I miss that one? Then there is a point when you realize you don't have to learn about this particular thing. Yes. And this is something with expertise. Expertise, I can't remember who it was. Someone wrote about it when I was studying. Well, not when I was studying. They wrote about it years before. But I was reading something when I was studying about expertise. Expertise isn't knowing stuff. It's knowing what not to know. It's the idea that you say no to certain things so you can say yes to others. And this is another point that I actually made in the video. So the video is coming out next week. But when we're capturing stuff, when we're capturing information for ideas, exploration, the idea exploration, sort of note taking, the personal knowledge management stuff. When you capture 10, you can't say yes to everything, because you only have so much time. Time is a limited resource. You only have so much time. So if you capture 10 things and you only process 2, you have to say no to 8 of those things. So saying yes is saying no to something else, and saying yes to an idea is saying no to another idea or another action. So when grabbing all of these ideas and capturing these note-taking, not note-making, of all these ideas or these things that you can think about, is that actually saying no to what you actually need to do, what you actually need to focus on, that actual purpose, that true purpose of what you're going to do? I don't know, maybe. Which has made me think, building a second brain, that course, when it's action focused, like the part of it that's action focused, that's focused on tasks, projects, routines, templates, that sort of stuff, makes sense. But the idea generation, I'm not sure. Is it a waste of time? Is it actually doing anything? I mean, I guess that's arguing against philosophy. Is philosophy doing anything? I'm sure all of the people that like philosophy will argue with me on that one till the end of time. Another major point is if you're in a relationship or team where you can bounce ideas off each other, I will take more notes to converse with myself. Yes, but that's interesting. I think that's slightly different, because normally when you're working in a team, there is a purpose to it. Like there is an obvious purpose or goal to it. I added a checkbox to review. Sometimes it's time to let the note disappear into the bin. Yeah, bin, archive, dump. Yeah. But yeah, when you're working with a team, the team is there for a reason. The team is there for a purpose. So the note taking, I mean, I don't know. I haven't worked with teams inside of business. Most of my team has been like, whether that's a sports team or whether that's a performance team, like working in performance sport, or you're working on an essay or an assignment. There is an obvious purpose. There is an end point. There is a goal. There is a target to it, rather than just the goal being discussion. And the note taking you're taking there, for me, in my head anyway, the note taking is to work together as a team to get something done, to achieve something in one way, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. if you're going to be any good at like communicating with people, that's exactly what you need to do. And it's the line between note taking for a purpose and note taking for the purpose of thinking. Like, why do it? Why do it? You look at Obsidian, you look at Rome, you look at Remnote, you look at My Mind. All of those sort of application with the networked thought, are they just distractions? Are they philosophical note-taking tools for the sole purpose of just thinking? Are they note-taking tools for thinking rather than note-taking? Does that make sense? Am I just like losing my mind? Note taking has brought more questions than answers. New person, I have to be ready for when thing happens. Expert, a thing is never going to happen. Don't bother. Oh, that made me giggle. That made me giggle. Yeah. Also, not knowing the info, only knowing where to get it in case a situation comes up. That's one of those things where it's like, okay, do I capture this? Because I could Google it. Like, if you can Google it and find the answer just as quick as if it was in your Obsidian or your Rome or your Notion or your whatever, if you can Google it just as quick as you can do it on that, do you really need to capture it? Do you really need to note take it? Do you really even need to keep it? Do you need to keep it in storage? And the note taking apps that I've seen that are used, most of the note taking, the practical note taking that I've seen from other individuals, other users, it's not idea generation. It's not philosophical thoughts. It's, I'm going to do something with these notes. I'm going to make a video. If it's a YouTube creator, I'm going to write an article. If it's a blogger, or I'm going to create this business, insert business notes. And the thoughts, the ideas, the things that get you thinking, those are the notes I feel anyway. Those are the notes I feel people take, but they don't really do anything about. Like what was it? What did he call it? The resonance calendar from Mali. Really good idea, really nice idea, and grabbing all of those notes. But I would be curious to see what he actually does with those notes that he captures from the podcasts. Like, what does he do with them? When you're listening to podcasts and you go, oh, that's a nice idea, that's an interesting thought. Do people actually sit down for half an hour and reflect on those thoughts? I'm curious. I don't know. I know from my experience, when I capture ideas from those sorts of things, unless there is an obvious action I can take from it, I never did anything with it. I didn't do anything. It just sat there. It's like, oh, that was a cool note to go into the archive of cool note takers. Like, no. And then so I wanted to bring up journaling, because journaling, I drastically struggled with journaling ever since I heard about it. Like, just couldn't do it. Writing, struggled. Exploring different ideas was fairly simple, but journaling on paper was frustrating for me. I didn't like it. My handwriting's not the best. I have to focus on handwriting. I can't spell, and when I have to read it back, it doesn't make any sense half the time. And I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it, and it was something I really struggled with, journaling. And when I really had a hard look at what journaling is note-taking. Journaling, in a nutshell, is note-taking. It's. I mean, when you look at bullet journaling, you have the task, which is task management, and then you have the events, and then you have the notes that you need to grab for actions. So the meeting informations, the working with a team, all of that sort of stuff. And that is what journaling was, which is why I think I struggled with it so much. And what I've done in the last 40, because it's 40 days now, I've journaled for 40 days. Like, what? But it's not traditional journaling. I've been video journaling, which is interesting in itself. So I'm doing the same thing with exploring ideas, exploring whatever it is, reflective thought. And I've been using those ideas as cues for thought. So I've been I've been giving those ideas of note taking, a purpose. The purpose is to explore the idea and see if there is an action that could be taken from it. So I give myself 10 minutes to sit and talk to the camera, kind of like I'm doing now. 10 minutes to talk to the camera about the cue that I had. I mean, the cue today was why yell about something you can't control, right? And I mean, I spoke about it for 10 minutes. I could have spoken for way longer. And I got 4 or 5 deliberate actions I could take from it that I could actually implement. But journaling on paper, I would just struggle to do that. David Allen says, your mind is for having ideas, not for holding them. Yes. And everything is right, so I take notes. Oh yeah, I completely agree. It's certainly for having ideas, not storing them. Which is one of those things with the storing. When you have all of those things stored, for me anyway, I had this urge to actually explore them. I was like, I have a backlog. I don't like a backlog, and that's a limitation I have in myself. I know, but having a backlog of stuff, of things to do, if there are tasks overdue, I'm going to get them done. If there are emails I haven't responded to, I will respond to them. If there are messages that I have not responded to, I will respond to it. If I know there is a backlog somewhere, I want to either feel comfortable enough to archive it or assign a time where I'm going to do it. And because of the amount of ideas I had and the ideas I was having in my mind and the things that I was consuming and the notes that I was potentially taking, I had this massive backlog, and it was causing me more stress. It was just not fun, because I would explore an idea and then it would give me more to explore. So 1 would turn into 2, 2 would turn into 4, 4 would turn into 8, and so on and so on. And the backlog just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had to learn to say no. And I was saying no to a lot of things. So if I'm saying no to so many of these ideas, so many of these things, and I was just going round and round in circles, asking myself very similar questions, coming up with the same sort of answers to those questions, which were to explore more questions and have more thoughts, I was just in a never-ending cycle of overthinking. I was like, this overthinking thing is not fun. I'm going to overthink anyway. Why am I giving myself more things to overthink about? Does that make sense? And the idea of grabbing those notes, thinking about it, then overthinking about it, and then taking more notes, etc., etc., etc. It was a bad cycle. And I did a bit of reflection on this about 41 days ago. And I was like, you know what? I need to stop overthinking this stuff. So I did. And I said, okay, I'm going to explore this for 10 minutes and make an action from it. And I have done. And those actions are things I can take. Some of a lot of the actions I've taken aren't like short actions. I can just go, boof, there we go, done that one, tick it off. It's a repeating thing that I can look back at it and go, am I still doing this? Am I still doing this? Which is like building morals, building values. And that's what I was doing. That's interesting. See, and this is what happens in my journaling sessions, in my squirreling sessions, because I have a cue. The first 1 or 2 minutes is explaining to myself out loud what's going on. And then sort of like 3 minutes in, I go, there's the link. There's the combination. There's a thing I was struggling with and found it through just by working it out, by talking. So the idea generation, the actions I was taking was building and changing and molding values and morals that I have to follow. Oh, that's so cool. I like it. Unintentional inspiration right there from myself. Okay. I love the light bulb moment. And this is the thing about the journaling that I've been doing. I've been having a light bulb moment every day. Because I've just been talking to myself for 10 minutes, deliberately talking to myself about a specific topic for 10 minutes and exploring what happens in my mind, where my mind goes, and then going, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? Ooh. And it's been great fun. I write down things when I'm watching, listening in my Obsidian Daily Note. I've been using the Obsidian Daily Note like a lot. And I never thought, so my Obsidian Daily Note has basically become my journal sketchpad page thingy. Because formal like storage of notes, I struggle with it. I don't like how boxed linear it is. Even though Obsidian is still boxed, it's still in folders and stuff. It's very free flowing. Roam I have to pay for, so that's why I'm not using Roam. But the daily journal has allowed me literally just to go, I just put it in there. And I now have 3 inboxes, well, I guess two really. I have a content inbox. So when there is something that I've captured and I'm like, I'm going to talk about that, I'm going to explore that, I want to explore that and do a deep dive, I'll turn it into content. And then I have a purpose for it. Now there is a deliberate purpose for me exploring that idea or sharing my thoughts or whatever that happens to be, because it's content. And the other inbox is my daily journal notes. So yeah, and the good afternoon, Kevin. Good to see you from Florida. Awesome. That's America, I believe. I can never remember. The geography is not my forte, but good to see you. Yeah, a bit of a philosophical conversation about note taking. I've had some epiphanies, which are great fun. I love having epiphanies. We're talking about some journaling as well. I'm sure Kim and Gail can enlighten you on some of the epiphanies I've had. Maybe you've been getting some thoughts as well on the note taking going through. Florida is in the US. Yes, I did pass geography. I passed all of my GCSEs, but oof. But yeah, and the daily note, the journal. I've been using the Obsidian Daily Note Journal to put the ideas I want to explore, but I don't really know what the purpose is for them yet. I grab the note. I'm like, yes, I have the note. Now what do I do with it? Well, I don't want to leave it in an archive. I want to do something with it. So I just spend 10 minutes exploring that note, and then I get actions from it. And the actions normally can move forward. So something else I have noticed as well, having done the journaling for 40 days now, I need to do a video about this and explain my thoughts and explain my experience through it, because it's really surreal. I thought I would never, ever, ever journal. It's disgusting. But I've been doing it for 40 days and it's fun. I look forward to journaling. Who would have thought it? But yeah, what I'm finding is every 2 or 3 days, I'll be talking about something completely different. Like, I can go from, like, today I was talking about why yell about something you can't control. Yesterday, what was the cue for yesterday? The cue for yesterday was respect the host, right? And those things are completely separate. There is literally, like, no relation. But when I'm talking about it, I will suddenly go, oh, that links with this, that links with that. And then I suddenly get this past history of linking ideas. And when looking back, so I review, I go over, I rewatch myself talking to the camera, doing these squirrel sessions. And I'm like, I see the links. I see where my brain is going. I can create patterns with purpose throughout the squirrels, and I can see myself evolving, evolving my thought, evolving the ideas, evolving the purpose of my note-taking through the sessions, because it's all getting linked. It's not getting linked via a machine. It's getting linked via the stories I'm telling. It's almost like when you tell a story, when you do a lecture, I don't know whether any of you have delivered lectures or anything like that, but or meetings, maybe when you deliver the same meeting or a presentation or something. But when you deliver the same thing over and over and over again, it changes slightly. When you tell a story, the story changes slightly. Different things get added in, certain things get taken out. And the more I'm telling my story through journaling and through exploring these ideas, the more the story is shaping up, and all these ideas are starting to link together. What are all these ideas forming? Me. because it's journaling, it's forming my ideology, my philosophy, and my morals and values, which is something I figured out in this stream. Where do you get the cues from? I will bring that one up. What was that one, Gail? We are having a discussion about what is practical value of note-taking. Yes. Yep, that's exactly it. Okay. No right or wrong side, but an exploration of why we take notes. Yes. And the right or wrong. Why people argue is, I was talking about, was it today or yesterday? I remember I spoke about it in the squirrel session. I think it was today. I think it was today's squirrel. And if you are curious, I'm putting all my squirrels on Patreon if anyone is curious, because I feel like, hey, if I'm recording them, I may as well put them somewhere. So if anyone is really nosy, be aware, like there is no censor at all. It's just me being curious. If you do want to know what all the squirrels look like, they're all on Patreon. But yeah, the idea that people argue about right or wrong, I'm like, stop being so black and white, please. Like, be curious, learn. But yeah, so where do you get the cues from? I get cues from all over the place. So any sort of like squirrel random idea, random thought that comes to mind goes into one of two places. The things that I capture, I don't want to have a look now because my computer has, I've been getting warnings, right? Every time I shut my computer down and I turn it back on, I get this HP battery warning, and it's like, you have real bad issues with your computer. You need to change it. I'm like, yeah, so I'm at a point now where my computer may actually just crash on me. So I'm not going to go exploring Obsidian too far while I'm streaming. But the cues, when I watch a video, listen to a podcast, or have any sort of thought about something that I want to explore, or it relates to something I've already seen, if it's something I want to talk about and really dive deep into, I will put it. I'll put it into the content. If it's just a general thought, maybe it's a quote from something, maybe it's like some of the cues have been tweets. Some of the cues have been things like Lucy, the film, the movie. And what is it? Iron Fist. Iron Fist is a series I've been watching on Netflix recently. And I've got loads of different things from that as well. So literally everything. I think, so I've got a couple of cues from watching the Iron Fist, one from Lucy. I've got a couple from videos, a couple from Twitter, literally everywhere. Any time I see anything that gets me intrigued and wants me to, and I want to explore something or think about something. I mean, even TikTok. Some of the things on TikTok, I'm like, what? That's interesting. I'm intrigued. What's his name? There was someone on TikTok, and he talks to himself, kind of like myself. He talks to himself, and he was saying that the youngest, what was it? Oh, it was some really weird thing about young and old. Yeah, it was I can't remember what it was, but it was a really interesting thought that he'd brought up, and I was like, okay. So I just watched a TikTok about someone taking the mick out of something, and I'm like, that's a really interesting philosophical thought. Let's explore that. So I did. And I got some values from it, and I haven't articulated I have articulated the values that I've gathered from them, because they're all the notes they're not the notes, they're the action takeaway points from the notes of the squirrel sessions. So maybe I should put all of that into a page and try and collect it, because at the moment they're kind of scattered all over the place, but I know what they are up here. Hopefully that answers your question, Kim, about where I get the cues from. But yeah, most of the cues are from anywhere and everywhere. I mean, even right now, the idea with the morals and the values is a cue that I will be putting down. I will be putting that down, morals and values, and that will go, you know what, I might as well do it now. Morals and values, boom. And that's on the queue for tomorrow. I've got like loads of cues, and I can just pick one. I just look at it and go, oh, let's do that. Sometimes I may just come up with a cue, and I may come up with something in my head right before I'm going to start recording. I'm like, nope, I'm going to talk about this instead. So yeah, who knows? Danny, listen to this. Your computer and the rest of the world replace your old computer already. Yes, I know. I need to. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's funny. When I started up this stream, you may be able to see a little bit of lag, and that's probably my computer struggling. When I was about to start the stream, I was looking at the task manager. I literally have Obsidian open over there. And then I have StreamYard, that's it. And my computer's at like 96% CPU. And all it's doing is running StreamYard. OBS completely crashes my computer. And yeah, my screen sort of flickers every once in a while as well, because my computer's just like, oh, you're going to die? No, we're not. Oh, you're going to die? No, you're not. So yeah, I know I need to fix it. Well, just get a new one. I mean, my battery's dead. Yeah, I know. Fingers crossed I'll get it sorted next week. Maybe. Are the squirrel sessions your video journaling, or are they two separate things? So they are the same thing. I'm calling them a squirrel session because in my head, I don't know what it is about journaling, but I don't see. Maybe this is a pre-bias I have of journaling, but I see journaling as the whole process of managing your time, managing your actions, your things that you're doing. So the task management, the project management, the information note taking, the note making. Like I see all of that as a journaling process, the writing down. Like the bullet journal has the tasks, the goals, and everything like that. So I see journaling as the overarching sort of like umbrella term for everything that I'm doing. Because journaling for me anyway is just tracking. It's tracking something. It's note taking. So my squirrel sessions are my journals, my daily journals. because in my mind, a squirrel session is just it's a session where my brain just goes, poof, there we go. Let's go in this direction for 10 minutes and see what happens. So yeah, they kind of are separate things. Hopefully that explains things. But yeah. So journaling to me anyway is an overarching term, and I think note taking as well is another overarching term in there. So I would, in my head as a hierarchy, I guess I have journaling up here. Journaling or tracking essentially are the same thing in my mind anyway, and note taking is like an umbrella under journaling, because note taking and task management are slightly different things. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I always find I understand things better when I handwrite them as opposed to type them. That's interesting. I mean, I find everyone is different. 100% everyone is different. I find that when I handwrite stuff, maybe this is something I struggle with, but I find I struggle understanding what I'm writing. Same with reading. When I read something, I'm reading the words rather than reading what the words are saying. And when I'm writing something, I'm writing the words rather than writing what I'm saying. Same with typing. When I'm typing things, I'm typing the words, but I don't really focus on what I'm actually saying. I'm like, okay, this is my thought. These are the words I want to type. Let's type these words. When I'm speaking, I'm literally there is no censor. It's just in brain, out mouth, in brain, out mouth. And it just goes. And that's probably one of the reasons that I speak quite quickly as well, as my brain is going and my words just come straight out of my mouth. It just goes, which is why the squirrel sessions are uncensored, which is why some of the videos and the live streams, the blooper video. Wow. Yeah. I did a blooper video as well. Patreon. But I've noticed that I insult myself a lot when I'm like recording, and I don't censor what comes out of my mouth when I'm talking. And when I'm writing or when I'm typing, I find myself auto-checking myself or confirming what I'm saying, confirming what I'm thinking before I actually type it. So it's almost like I argue with myself when I'm writing or when I'm typing. That's my experience. Obviously, everyone is different. What I will say though is writing is amazing for remembering information. Remembering information, yes. Which is why I use paper tablet to write notes. It's interesting. Paper tablet. I don't have a tablet or a thing. I mean, I've got a laptop that needs replacing, which someone may have mentioned in chat. Yes. But still able to process the information as I'm handwriting. That's an interesting thought. Reem, I'm assuming that's how you say your last name, your name, Reem. When you have notes and you've taken notes, I briefly brainstormed this earlier in the stream. When you have notes and you process those notes, how do you choose which notes to process? Because I assume you capture a fair amount of notes, especially if you're processing notes as well. Because if you're processing notes, you're going to be getting multiple actions, multiple ideas through processing notes, because that's the point of processing them. You distill them down into something and you create something. Otherwise, why are you making the notes? How do you choose what you're going to explore and what you're not going to explore? I am curious, genuinely just curious to how you choose to explore what you explore. And that's a great point. I myself understand more when I handwrite, but remembering it later is harder, so I go back to digital. Okay. See, handwriting is one of those things that you're not a fan. Just joined in, saw Kim's Q question out of any context and was going to suggest Sports Direct. The Q was for journaling, not a literal Q, but I appreciate that joke. I appreciate it. I'm not sure, Darren, when you joined in, but yeah, the Q question was in response to my journaling. So when my journaling, my squirrel session, I said journaling because that's what's been said. That's what we've been talking about. But my squirrel session is like my daily thought of the day, and I have a Q list in my Obsidian daily note. And Kim was asking where I get my cues from, which is movies, series, podcasts, videos, lectures, articles, anything. Sometimes literally just seeing something, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. This is the weirdest cue I've had, right? So I saw sock fluff on my desk, right? I was wearing black socks at the time. I'd cleaned my desk the day before. I was wearing black socks at the time. I was wearing grey socks at the time, but I had black sock fluff on my desk. And I was like, I cleaned this yesterday. I'm wearing grey socks today. How could and that's where my brain went, and that's what the cue became. My cue became like I can't even remember what it was about. What was it about? I remember what I got from it. The idea of irrational thinking. The idea of rational that's where the squirrel went. It went all the way like round houses into irrational thinking, and then that became a cue for the next day. But yeah, the idea that we notice things and we start questioning random things, the small things. We notice the small things. We're like, why are we noticing the small things? Anyway, that was like part of the squirrel session. I was like questioning myself, questioning what was going on. I was like, what? Anyway, yeah. Combining the two seems to be the way I need to go. But I love paper and pen. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's from school. Maybe it's from school, and the fact that you just always had to write on paper and pen, but you never been a fan of paper and pens. Just not my thing. Not my thing. The research and evidence for the benefits of handwriting notes, particularly for memory retention, is overwhelming. I love it when people say research, because I come from like the academic world, and when you say research, my immediate brain goes to, okay, sample size, group of people, context, environment, and then alternate factors and like tier 2 bias, type 2 bias, type 1 bias, because the amount of studies that are biased and the write-up of the study is also biased, even with objective studies, even with objective, like numbers-based studies, they are massively impacted by the researcher, the experience of the individuals. So it's not I don't agree with research, because like that's what research is. That's literally what science is. But with stuff like this that is fairly subjective, as soon as you add a subjective nature to science and research, I am extremely skeptical and very, very critical on what that research says. But I'm always open to reading it and being curious. But the majority of research studies that I have seen that have backed handwriting for note retention and things like that, they are very, very academic focused. So it's the purpose of regurgitating information for a specific test that also happens to be the same medium. It's interesting. I mean, I read one study that they used well, it was secondary school for me, so I don't know what that would be elsewhere in the world, but like 15, 16-year-olds doing their GCSEs. And the study was that handwriting was helping them do better on the exams. And they did a test. It was like, I think there were 3 groups. I can't remember the study exactly, but there were 3 groups of people. One did handwriting, one did typing, and the other did what they wanted. The group that did what they wanted, it was basically a control group. And the group that did the handwriting notes did better in the exam. But what wasn't mentioned in the whole of the study was they were actually taking more notes than the other 2 groups. You know, like maybe it was just the fact they were taking more notes, or they were actually paying attention to the notes. So it wasn't the medium they were doing; it was the intention of the notes that they were taking that was making the difference. And then I found a study, like I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks after that basically critiqued the study I'd read. I was like, told you so. Well, that was like going on in my head anyway. But yeah, so research, I agree. Really, really good for some people, but subjective research is one of those things that I'm skeptical about. But yeah, if it works for you, then still use it. Still 100% use it. Relating things with an arrow is much easier with pen and paper. Yes, 100% it's easier with pen and paper. I think with my preference with relating ideas, relating things, I don't know why, but when I'm speaking, like right now, like I'm relating things in my head to things that have happened because I remember it, and because I've remembered it because of a cue that I've said or something that's happened, and I'm telling the same sort of story. Like I was mentioning earlier, I'm constantly adding to my story, adding to my opinions, to my thoughts, my philosophies, values, morals about everything, because I'm now adding to things. I'm constantly reciting things that I've seen or heard. So those arrows, those backlinks, I don't use backlinks at all anymore. Well, I use minimal backlinks in my journaling, so they're somewhat linked, but I don't use them. They're there in case I do end up using them. But yeah, the idea of, I think because I'm telling the story so much, those links are just in my head. I mean, but before I did any of this note-taking stuff, any of it, this is like first year uni, I didn't think anything. I was always punctual, always on time, still am. And I remembered what I needed to do when I needed to do it because it was always going on in my head. It was just there. It was the story I was telling myself. And trust me, I was a busy person. Like when you're doing 4 sports and like volunteering in 3 different places and trying to do education, yeah, your brain gets stressed. That's probably one of the things that contributed to my stress because I didn't write anything down at the time. But yeah, so I use Notion for all sorts to sort my handwritten notes. If I'm reading something, for example, I'll make a few notes and pop it into my reading database with a reminder for when to reflect on those ideas. Okay. Also for essay planning, I have particle module normative ideas are difficult to think. Okay. So with the wow, excuse me, I ate like half an hour. Wait, I say half an hour ago. It's like hour and a half now. But the idea that so the taking the notes and sorting them, what are you sorting them by? Are you sorting them by module, by date, by time, by quantity, quality? Because this is something that what's his name, Nick Milo, was talking about with his linking is thinking ideas, where you have dashboards. Essentially, I can't even remember what you called them, but essentially they're dashboards of information that you link all your notes to that general idea, that general topic, and that's your cue to bounce off of things. In Notion, it's kind of hard to do that very well with all of the notes you're potentially capturing. You can do it with databases and pages and the backlinks. They're not backlinks, but the links you can do in Notion. You can certainly do that, like with the note taking, the knowledge management, blah blah blah, etc. But I would say that's, like, from my experience anyway, that's a lot of maintenance, and I'm curious to see how you manage to update those notes, because what I have in my mind constantly, like, refreshes and updates. Do you go back to those old notes when you have, say, you have a new note? Do you update the old note, or do you just keep the new note and forget the old note? And if you are forgetting the old note, why is it still there? Is it an archive? Does it go to a bin? Like, what happens with those notes? Because I've seen a lot of people note taking, and they say, oh, I've done this note before. I've had this note before. I've written that down before. And I'm like, hold up. If you've got a duplicate of a note, why are you taking it again? But yeah. So are you like constantly refreshing, like like revising, refreshing the note in the Notion database in the page? Or are you just making a new note and then relating them and then having to go backwards and forwards to process those notes, like, together when you're revising them? I mean, I assume there is a purpose for the note taking. It's not just, let's just grab loads of stuff. I mean, digital maximalism certainly isn't bad, but I think people in the knowledge management, personal knowledge management space are potentially like digital maximalisms when it comes to the notes and the capture information. Which is something I've tried to avoid now, moving away from the maximalism, because it was adding unwanted stress onto my mind, having the thought in my mind that I needed to process everything, that I needed to remember everything. This goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the stream about learning notes. Are you learning the notes, or are you trying to do something with the notes? Or are they just notes for notes' sake? Reem, I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you're in education, because you mentioned essays, didn't you? Yeah. Also for essay planning. Yeah. So when you're in education, I think there is a difference in that the purpose of the notes is to either write an essay or get a good grade on what's it called? A test. Get a good grade on a test, or write a good essay, or something that's like that. But will you use those notes after you've done the degree, course, whatever it happens to be? I know speaking to a couple of other creators that have done degrees and have gone in the creator direction, they don't really use any of the information from their degree. A lot of the information they use and they learn now are the stories they've told themselves, or the lessons they've learned by doing stuff. And when you speak to a lot of graduates, right, almost everyone in my cohort is doing something completely different to what the undergrad was. And even the postgrad, even people that were doing the postgrad are doing stuff that they didn't intend on doing in the postgrad, because obviously life changes. But yeah, so those notes have kind of become redundant, and they're just archived, and they're not action, they're not refreshed. So if they haven't been used, then have you wasted time taking them? I legitimately don't know. It's just a question that I've had in my mind. Like, if I'm not using the note, why have I spent the time to take it, to sort it, to process it, to make flashcards on it if I'm not going to use it? Don't know. That was basically what we were talking about in the beginning. I should have read the next comment, shouldn't I? Good point. I should have thought about that when I cited the research sponsored by Byron Parker. Blah blah. Okay. I will keep that. Actually, can I? I can't just copy that because I'm in StreamYard right now. But yeah, so I will have a look at that. You know what? I'm just going to write it down now because it's there. By Byron Parker, Wernham, Hog, and Thunder. What is that? Mifflin? There we go. That'll do. Yeah, I'll have a look at that because again, like, I will read the research, but maybe this is certainly the master's student in me, because the undergrad student really didn't care. Whatever the abstract said, I was like, yep, that's good enough. I'll put it in the essay. Master's student me is like, no, I'm going to critique it. I'm pulling it to pieces. And I mean, there are certainly pros and cons of pulling things to pieces, but yeah, I'll have a look at the research and see what it says. But I'm curious to see, because I have not found any research done the other way around. Like, a lot of the research that I have seen when it comes to note taking is why handwriting is better, or why handwriting is better for this, better for that, or why this is bad. I haven't seen from what I've like looked for. I haven't seen anything where it said consuming information and doing a video about it, or taking mental notes and doing storytelling. I haven't seen research on the storytelling aspect of revision, like mentally revising things, other than when people, like, separate studies talk about revising things or memorizing card numbers or cheating and stuff like that. So there is research about it, but it's not directly related to note taking from a meeting or something. It's memory for memory purpose, for remembering something, rather than remembering something from note taking. So maybe that's an area for some research, but I am very finished with formal research right now. I have like so many different potential PhD topics. I was going to do a PhD. I was meant to be doing it now, but nah, COVID got in the way. Okay. If you take the note again, it's really important to add. You have to do something with it. That is a really good point. As long as you notice you've taken it again, yes, that's a really good point. It was a joke about pen and paper note taking research bias. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I didn't even acknowledge that. I didn't. Wow. I'm going to take a drink of water. Didn't even notice that. I saw Biro and I was like, that's a pen. And Parker is like my family name, or my dad's side family name. So that's where my brain went there. And then the rest of it, I was just like, oh, there's more names there. I'm so used to just reading names from research. But yeah, I feel stupid now. Thank you. No worries. But yeah, oh dear. Okay. What, there was a point there, wasn't there? there was a point there. Yes, there was a point. And you do something with it. Yeah, there we go. If you take the note again, it's really important to you, and have to do something with it. So when I find myself remembering that I've thought about this thing before, that's my cue to go, okay, I need to explore this. I need to think about this. This is how I helped my shopping, or not my shopping, but why I don't buy that much stuff is I have the three check rule. If I want something, I'll go, oh, that'll be nice, and I kind of put like a mental check mark on it. That'd be nice. Second time around, if I want it in the next week or so, because the mental check mark doesn't really go away because I'm sort of thinking about it. If that second time I go, you know what, that would be really useful, I then make a physical action and go, okay, do I actually need this? And I'll put this on my wish list, shopping list, whatever you want to call it, and give it another week. And then if I go back to it and go, oh yeah, I actually really need that now, or if I'm constantly going, yeah, I need this, then I'll get it. If not, then it just goes. And it's kind of similar with my note-taking ideas. I put it down, and if it just goes, and it goes. But if I think about it again, I'm like, you know what? That's actually worth exploring, and that's kind of what happens with my squirrel sessions, with my squirrel session cues. The content is different because the content ideas are much more broad ideas that I want to explore and go down. So there is an action, there is an exploration action for it. Whereas the squirrel sessions are just, boop, there we go. And I will probably, like tomorrow, I'll probably get rid of a couple of the cues and add a couple of cues to explore. Because like you say, the doing, the actions, the getting something done. Love the search option in Notion, so I see what I have on a topic, although tagging helps too. Tagging is something that I've actually found to be more hindersome. Like, I mean, maybe this is because I don't really filter my notes. I basically just have two inboxes, and then I have recordings. I don't tag my notes anymore at all. Like, at all. I don't have any tags. Well, I have all my old tags, but I don't tag things because I don't feel like I need to group them because I'm doing something with them. I'm directly actioning all my notes. Or like all my notes have a deliberate action for them, and they are developing the one thing that I can improve. Me. I know that sounds really like egotistical when I say it out loud, but yeah, my notes are to improve me. Sounds really egotistical. But when you improve you can help other people improve them. I think. But yeah. And then yes. Reading and writing are not. What was that? Reading and writing are not things Danny likes. Very true. Very true. It's not I don't like them. It's just I don't enjoy them. They're not fun. And for whatever reason, I'm half deaf and I prefer listening to stuff. I'm also going half blind and I prefer watching stuff. So yeah. Apparently my brain's like, nah, let's not do the thing that you can actually do quite well, and let's make you listen to stuff with one ear. Like, you know, people have headphones. Yeah, this one's a complete waste of time. Let's not do that because then I can't hear myself and it sounds weird. Like when I cover this ear up, it's you know when. This is going to be a really weird thing. You know when you're underwater and you start speaking and it's just like really blurred, muffly. That's what happens when I cover this ear because I'm like talking in my head. Random squirrel moment right there. Wonder how long a new computer. Yeah, the computer's been on the list a while. But when it comes to big purchases, I'm not a big fan of spending lots of money. And it's not that I don't have the money and it's not that I don't want to spend it. It's, yeah, there are a couple of different reasons in there. But it's like, if I got a laptop that works, I'll just use what works. Yes, I have. Wow. 20k notes in Evernote taken over 10 years. By sorting by title, I sometimes notice that I have clipped the same article video links several times over the years. This could be a queue in itself. Yeah, that's a lot of notes. 20,000 notes. Well, I guess 10 years. Actually, no, that's not that many. I was just going to say, wow, that's a lot of notes. But actually, no, that's not, because my Notion database had 7,000, and that was like a year and a half. And none of those were duplicates. None of those are duplicates. Wow. But still, I mean, yeah, that's probably a cue in itself to make you go, this is something really important. I mean, there is a video that I have watched so many times. I can't even remember what it's called. I just type in 3D math on YouTube, like TEDx 3D math, and it's Matt something or other, bald Matt. That talks about maths, and he not 3D, 4D, and he talks about 4D, the fourth dimension, and that talk is like an hour long, but that talk about the fourth dimension and just the way things could work, it's brain. I'm just like, yes, I would quite happily watch a 2, 3, 4 hour lecture on YouTube with like no trouble. I'll watch it, I'll consume it because it's fun, and the tone that they speak the words with, I'm like, yes. This is someone that's interesting. They're telling a story. Whereas when I'm reading something, I'm like, I have to make up my own tonality. I have to tell my own story, kind of. But yeah, 20k notes in one notebook. Okay, fair. It's not that I don't like them. I don't enjoy them. Isn't that the same thing? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I was trying to be like, it's not that. Yeah. I just. Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. You got me there, Kim. You called me out. You called me out. Yeah, I mean, I know when I was younger. I was like, I don't know whether this is the same in other countries, but at primary school, probably, it might have started in nursery, but like year 3. So what am I like? I'm like 7. You had to read a book a week. Yeah, like one of those like children's books. You had to read a book a week to learn reading, and I got forced to read. I don't like it. Don't like it. Maybe that's some childhood trauma. Forced to read. Now I don't like it. But then I have spent the last 5 years reading like academic articles, like 2 or 3 a day, just to keep up with what's going on. And I don't actually use any of them anymore. Most of the articles that I've read are now out of date anyway. But yeah, wow. Went on a couple of tangents there. I don't want to be speaking too long on this one either. Next week is going to be an interesting conversation. So assuming that assuming Kei is still good to come on, I'm going to be talking with Kei next week. For those of you unaware who Kei is, has a Notion course and I'm not sure whether he's classed as a life coach or a business coach, but he's spoken with Ali a couple of times, and he knows his stuff, but he also knows his apps. So it's going to be interesting to see his thoughts on note-taking, philosophy, and how to actually get stuff done. Some of you may be familiar with his newsletter as well, but the idea that note-taking, what was there actually? I'm having a look at my thoughts, because I wrote down a couple of thoughts before I started the stream. Note take, note make, note create. Boom, done that one. Journaling, devices, apps. Yeah, I mean, the apps bit on there was a bit of a thing, because apps in itself is just a massive conversation. And this is something I've noticed in the note-taking space. It doesn't matter what app you use, we still have the same problems. All the people in Rome still have the same problems that people in Notion, that people in Obsidian, that people in Evernote all have. We all have the same issues. What do I do with these notes? Where do I put these notes? How do I store these notes? How do I find those notes? It's all the same thing. How do we do something with the notes? Always the same questions, just a different app, different tool, different functions. And depending on the person, changes how you use it. But yeah, so if anyone has any questions, do let me know. I'm going to take a sip. I'm subscribed to his newsletter, and I never read it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's something with the newsletters. Like I read newsletters that are really short. I've been putting out a newsletter. I think I put out 3 now, like every Monday. But it's just okay, this is the video, this is the last stream, this is the next stream, and these are my squirrel moments. And the squirrel moments are just the brainstorming topics that I had. And if you want to have a look at them, you can go to Patreon and you can see them. But it's so short that you can just click on it and go, okay, cool, and then bounce off. The ones that have actual content, I feel like they're actual things I need to read and process. And again, reading. Grr. I'll read the titles, and if the title intrigues me, I'll do a quick skim read, but most of the time I'm just like, sorry. I had to read books in high school. I didn't read. Wow. He's the GTD man of Notion. Yes. Yeah, I think the video I did, the Ali Abdul video I did, he went on Ali Abdul's stream, showed him the GTD Notion system, and it took him like 2 hours to build it, and I built it in like 11 minutes or something in a video, and I was just like, boom, there you go, there's the system, because I was just like redoing the thing. It was like, if you don't want to watch the whole thing, just there you go. But he did bring up some really interesting points. But yeah, the newsletters, I'm just like, I struggle reading if I don't know it's going to be interesting, right? I struggle reading if I don't know if it's going to be interesting. And a newsletter, most of the newsletters, they just sort of say stuff that's happened, and I'm like, I know it's newsletter, but I'm like, nah, can't you just like give me an audio clip that I can just play at times too? But like, okay, cool, thanks. Thanks. Got it. Nice. Wait, you have a newsletter? Damn. I've been MIA online for 3 weeks and missed so much. Yes. I sent out an email to everyone that has. So every email that I've got anywhere from, like, whether it's conversations or whatever, everyone got an email about, like, if you want to be on the newsletter, and then, like, I tagged people on ConvertKit with it. But I haven't actually made an official form for it because I just haven't done that yet. But the old newsletter form, wow, has my computer just frozen? Ooh, can I move now? Yeah, there we go. My computer froze, and, like, on StreamYard I was frozen, but on the camera I was fine. But yeah, so I mean, I can just add you to the list. I can add you to the tag list if you want. But yeah, I need to actually. I think the newsletter form on my website still works. Like, it still goes into that newsletter tags list. But yeah, it's very, very short, very brief, because, like I say, I don't like reading. So it's just, there's a squirrel sessions, and there's 3 links, sorted. Nice, quick, short actions, to the point. Finished. But yeah, so hopefully you guys have got some thoughts. Hopefully I've given you some cues to think about. But yeah, how do we subscribe to it? I'll message you on Discord. Sounds good. How do we subscribe to it? So I think it is still on my website. I think there is still a thing on my website. If not, Darius, I'm not sure, Darius, if you're in the Discord, but what I will do is I will put a link in the description of this video or in the description of the stream, to a newsletter to a form where you can just sign up to it. So come back in, like, I don't know, an hour, and it will be done. I will have made sure it's done. So I'll put the link in the description of this live stream, and then I will try and I need to actually make a formal way to do it, because newsletter, I wasn't sure I was actually going to go through with it, because writing newsletters was not something I was interested in doing. But I've actually found that a lot of people are actually finding it useful, because it's just like, oh, here's the stuff that's going on, and it's just, like, really quick and to the point as well. So, and it's orange, which is fun. But yeah, so I will put the link. I'm going to get rid of the joke. I can't believe I fell for that. Wow, you've made me feel, like, humbled today. I'm going to use humbled. What am I doing? Newsletter in description. Yeah, so there we go. So I'll put a link in the description of the live stream once the stream is done. So I'll put it in there in the next 10, 20 minutes, however long it takes me to do it, and then you guys can sign up for it. Comes out, I think, every Monday. It's on my to-do list, so it will come out. But yeah, so it's very brief, very short, and you should be all good. It's orange. Never mind, I changed my mind. Won't subscribe. Yeah, well, it's like, I think there's, like, 3 orange circles on the video. That's about it. Oh, the link's orange as well. I got to pick the color, and I was like, well, I gotta go with it. I gotta go with orange. What else can I do? But yeah, the video for note taking is coming out next week, which is going over a lot of the topics I brought up in this, but it's much more condensed and has a bit of fun in it as well. Of course, it's got to be fun. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and of course, if it wasn't orange, it wouldn't be Danny. Okay. I'm not keeping that tagline. Let's forget I said that. Right, so I will hopefully I'll see you guys next week with Kei. If Kei doesn't join me, then I'm sure I'll be on again talking about something, because I got loads of ideas, loads of things I love talking about, and I love talking to you as well. And it's nice to sort of, like, see everyone sort of, like, chatting about. I wish my computer was better. You know what? I might get a new computer next week, but don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. At least seems the chat is quicker as the video. I'm on a camping. Oh wow, I've just noticed so many things on your video are orange. Orange, it has to be orange. You're just so used to seeing it now. But yeah, anyway, hopefully, guys, I'll see you. Well, I won't see you. You'll see me. I'll see your beautiful faces in chat next weekend, and maybe I'll get a response from you guys on the newsletter. I will make sure I get that. Wow, excuse me. I'll make sure I get it in the description in a second. But yeah, hopefully you have a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is where you are. Excuse me. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.